ChrisWilHobbyKing.com, and welcome to another tips and tricks for our HK Fabrikator 3D printer. So this is number 3 in the video series so far. So far we've of course had the assembly series where we went through and built the printer itself. We had one on updating your firmware. Always make sure you have the latest firmware from our files tab. And from there we talked about different types of software that can be utilized with this particular printer. We're using we're using the Rafts 1.4 board with the Marlin firmware on there, which makes it compatible with a lot of different programs. In the last video we talked about the different programs, and we recommend using Cura. So we set up Cura to work with this particular printer. So go ahead and make sure you've watched that video and downloaded Cura and updated or put in the printer profile for this particular printer. So at this point we are 100% ready to print. So how do we do it? So we're going to jump over to Thingiverse, and in the other episode we talked about CAD software where you would actually design a part. At this point we're going to just get you up and printing, so we're going to grab a part that is already built, and we talked about how there's tons and tons of information on the web where you can just download all kinds of different parts, whether you design them, make them, or doodads from busts all the way down to full 3D quads. This is actually from a Spidex quad I downloaded and printed up. So we can grab those parts and save them. So I'm going to actually walk around on the printer. There's going to be a lot of computer work, so I don't want to be awkwardly talking like this. So we're going to change cameras over to just focus on the screen, and I'm going to walk you through the process right over here. So give me 1 second. All right, so I have my Cura up and running. So let's go ahead and jump over to Thingiverse. That's one of the more favorable sites that I like to use for downloading content to go ahead and give it a print. So I've got Chrome. Go ahead and throw this up, and I've got the MakerBot Thingiverse up here and loaded. So you can pretty much do a ton of searches for anything, and you really got to actually narrow your search down because there is so much out there. You'll just get flooded with pages after pages after pages. So I just did a quick search for Fpv Tilt, and what I'm looking for is a mount for either a Mobius or a GoPro, which will allow me to tilt my camera since I fly at high speeds and I don't want to be looking at the ground at all times. Let's see. 4-degree tilt. Here we go. This one's nice. So I'll go ahead and click on this one. Bring it up. Looks like it just uses 4 standard posts to mount to like a normal board cam mount, which a lot of the little 250 racers come with. Gives us looks like a little tilt up on the camera. Let's see if it gives us a degree here. Tilt down, similar FPV style, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it looks good. So we're going to go ahead and just click on Thing Files. It's saved as an STL. Perfect. I like it. So we're just going to click on it, and it's going to download. Great. Awesome. We've got it. So I'm going to go back over to Cura, and I've got Cura open up here. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and load it up. So I'm going to go File. Right here on the top, I'm going to load model file. And I'm just going to go to my downloads where we just had it, and there's FPV Cam 4-degree tilt. I just downloaded that. I'm going to click open. And there it is on our page. See how it auto-zoomed? And if I hover my mouse over it, you can see it lights up. Now what's really cool is that we can keep adding files to this. If I wanted to print, say 4 of them, I could keep dragging and dropping them in here. And it's really nice because you can just click and drag. I can click off the screen right over here and look around it, move it around. And when you're laying out your print, as far as a tip is concerned, you want to look at what's called overhangs. So these have supports built in right here where this is supporting this, but if not, this was just a standoff, it would be free hanging in the air. And some printers do well with it, some plastics do better with overhangs. But in regards, you can always change your model to where and flip it around where you have the least amount of overhangs, which means printing with support or without support, you always get a better quality surface. Now, when you're printing a model, if you want one surface to be absolutely pristine, you always want that to be the up surface, and then you're going to have to print supports on the bottom that you would break away, and maybe have to do a little cleaning up on the model on the bottom side. So let's just assume this is good. What I'm going to do is go ahead and allows me to click and move around this particular model itself. So once you click on it and it's actually yellowed out, we've got a couple different options right down here. So this is our coordinate. This represents the front left of our machine looking straight at the machine itself, right over here in the corner. So this part is basically right into the center. I'm going to click and drag it in the center. I got some options here that allows me to bring up this where I can rotate this at a different angle. If I was nesting a whole bunch of them in there, I can flip it down at a couple different other angles if I want to print this one closer to the fan. I can scale the object itself, so it gives me the size, and if I want to scale the object, I can scale it uniform. You know, if I put in a dimension, like say maybe I need this printed for a smaller camera, and I know those dimensions, I can just type them right in here and let it scale on down. As well as mirror the object right over here. I can mirror the object in different directions, which is very useful for different types of prints, especially if you're printing patterns itself. So you've got mirror on different axes as well. I'll just jump right back over here to the rotate. One that you always want to mess with here is lay flat. Always click that on the lay flat. And what's interesting is, say you rotate this in up, the center of this might actually cause it to be up in the air. So you always, after you're done rotating it, always click the lay flat button, and it's going to put it right down onto the bed, the flat lay the bed itself. So now that we've got our file pretty much centered, it looks good printing in this because we've got supports. Let's go ahead and start talking about some of these other features. Now, when you're new to 3D printing and you're not really familiar with a lot of the features, the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and change the filament diameter. Right over here, this is set up for standard a 3mm printer, or 3mm filament printer. This particular printer uses 1.75. Now, what you want to do is actually take your filament, whatever filament you buy, and it should be, you know, plus or minus on the tolerance like 0.03, you know, within what it is. So if it's 0.03 within it is. So if it's like a 175 and you measure it and it's 1.78, what you want to do is do that correction in there, and it's going to be able to calculate the proper flow rate. So always measure your filament and put in the exact diameter that is measured. I'm going to assume we've got a good quality print like the eSun that we sell, and I'm just going to put in 175. Hit enter on that. Flow rate, just leave it 100%. Now once that's done, for new users, what I'm going to do is just tell you to come up here where it says Expert. Click on this, and I'm going to tell you to switch to Quick Print. The Quick Print allows you to check a couple different things and just get this up and printing. You can print it fast, and what it does is change the layer heights to being thicker. It's going to be more grainy in the quality of the print, but it's going to print instead of 10 minutes print, it could be 5 minutes depending on the part itself. So if you needed something fast and it's just going to be structural and you don't care what it looks like, go ahead and pick fast. Normal print is a little bit thinner layers, and then you've got high quality print, which is sub 0.10 layers, where you get a really nice, very smooth, detailed model finish. And then you've got some other options right over here. The material. Are you using PLA? Are you using ABS? Or are you using PET? So in this case, I've got PLA loaded, but it's just as simple as clicking on this button right over here. Clicking that, I'm going to pick a normal print. So normal, PLA. Do we want print support structures? This particular model doesn't have a lot of overhangs. Actually, it has no overhangs. So there's no reason to print support material. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. If I'm happy with that, basically normal, PLA, those are the three things we picked. All we do is click toolpath to SD card. And that's it. So it's generating the toolpath, it's saving it to our SD card right down here. It is set up on our SD card, and we're ready to transfer this over to our printer and press print on the printer itself. So Cura is really that easy to use and operate. You can just drag and drop materials in, you can grab it, you can move it around. Let's open up another one. File, load model from file. Since I only have one file on this, I'll go ahead and drop in another one. Drag it over here. Let's go ahead and scale this one. Let's say this one's going to be for a little bit smaller camera, so I'm going to hit scale. Let's do this at, let's go 0.5. There we go. Looks good. So it's half the size there. We scaled it. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this one. We'll try printing this one on its side if we want. Rotate it over. Let's go this way. Bam. Comes right down to our bed. We'll rotate it this way. Great. Awesome. Let's move it closer to this one so the bed, so the extrusion head doesn't have to jump back and forth so far. Looks good. So we're all set up on that. So we've got two of those for two different camera sizes ready to rock and roll and print. All we do is click this, update the print, and it would save it to our card itself. And I'm just using right over here. Let's do this print. Let's do this one a fast print because I really don't care what it looks like. I'll probably crash my quad into a tree and print another one anyway. To print both of these on the fast settings, it's going to take our printer 41 minutes to do it. Now we can actually push our particular printer faster, and we can do that from the main screen, and we can do that as a live setting as it's actually printing. So I'm not going to dive into how to do that right over there. Versus a high quality print, if we're going to do this ultra resolution, let's just take a look at how much longer it would take to print. Because the layers, it's going to have literally twice as many layers in it. 2 hours and 36 minutes, so you can see the difference right over there. So I'm just going to click fast print on that. And we are set. So it's just that simple. We've got our G code. In our next video series, we're going to actually take the SD card that I just saved these to, put them to our printer, and actually go ahead and print these on out. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to expert mode because I want to talk about some of these settings as you get better with the printing. Copy settings, no. All right, so here is our layer height right over here. 0.1 is your standard prints right over there. 0.2 is considered a fast print, or 0.15 is a fast print. To get in the higher resolution, it's really not recommended to go below 0.06. 0.06 is like max resolution on most 3D printers as far as being able to see a difference in quality. If you change to like 0.02, printer is capable of doing it, but are you going to see any better benefit out of that? Absolutely not. You're just going to waste a whole bunch of time printing it. But you can, that's something you can definitely play with. Now, this is interesting. Most 3D models, if it's printed, if it is a solid, and I'm going to go ahead and hold, this up right here, screen. So when it prints it, this is a solid material. We obviously don't want to make this out of completely solid plastic, or maybe you do. So it creates a shell. The outside diameter of this is printed, and it determines how thick the outside shell is versus the cross-hatching pattern. And if we hold that up in the light, you can kind of see, because this is a transparent PLA, you can kind of see the web that it creates or creates inside the model itself. And so we can adjust how dense the infill is. And actually, if you look at the Fabrikator video, the little promo video when it's printing, you can actually see it print this Hobby King logo right over here. And as it's printing, I'll hold this one up. As it's printing, it's only halfway through, and you can see the cross-hatching, the honeycomb style design that's inside that. And we can adjust how dense that is depending on what it is. If we need it to be extremely structural, we don't care about weight. We can up that if it's going to be something that's going to be flying. Plastic is extremely strong. Even though this is hollow, it's extremely strong because it's fully honeycombed on the inside. So we've got a couple settings right over here. Shell thickness, default is 0.8, and to be honest with you, that is absolutely awesome for 99% of what you are printing. Enable retraction. What retraction is that the filament, as it moves from one part to the other part, it sucks it up a little bit so we don't get these hairs back and forth between it. Have you ever had a hot glue gun that you were gluing something and then you move somewhere else and you get these strings that fly everywhere in the air? This retraction kind of sucks it up in there so you don't have those strings flying around, and you have to do a lot of cleanup afterwards if you're printing multiple parts at the same time. So you always want to enable retraction. Where you don't want retraction is prints that have a whole lot of infill moves on a print. Depending on how it slices, it could be moving within a part, and if you're doing a lot of retractions, you can actually have problems with the plastic actually cooling and causing clogs and stuff like that. That's something that you're just going to have to learn. For the most part, just always click enable retraction. If you're getting hot end clogs, depending on the type of print, you can unclick this and try it again. We'll talk about that in a more advanced later date. Bottom and top thicknesses. So when it prints out a print, here I'll hold up the track star, it'll be the first layer, how thick the original shell on the bottom is and how thick the top is itself. And those are fully adjustable. I don't know if we can see the honeycomb in that one. But those are just setting, and to be honest, the defaults are absolutely awesome on those, so go ahead and just leave those, but those are things that you can change. As far as print speeds and temperatures, you can go ahead and just start with the defaults because these are all settable via live while it's printing. So if you want to go ahead and push the machine and make it a little faster, we can just do that as the printer is printing. If you're printing a certain PLA or ABS and you're seeing that it's not flowing right, or you want to change the temperature, you can do that live. So really the defaults that are in this program are epic to use straight out of the box. So just leave those as default, and if you need to do some on-the-fly live tuning, do it on the printer itself, because it's going to change from filament to filament, types of materials and things like that. So it's always best to just have those written down in a notepad and then just do it live on the printer itself. So you just keep this all the same. Now support. We talked a little bit about support, and what support is let me hold up a print here. This particular print has overhangs. Now, when it was printed, it actually had like little tiny standoffs right in here to help hold this up while it was printing in midair. You can choose to use it or not use it. You can slow the printer way down and up the fan speed so it cools it in midair, so you don't need supports if you're trying to do a higher res model. And print without supports, and only use supports in key points. And then the other one is Rafts, or platform adhesion. And this right here is what we call a raft. So if we've got a part that we're printing and we're having issues with it not sticking to the bed, ABS is notorious for cooling and trying to stretch or curling up like a potato chip. So if you print rafts, it kind of gives it an anchor point, and then after you're done, you just crack and break it right off like I did over here on this one. And it stops it from doing any kind of warping. It just pulls right off the bed, nice and simple. PLA doesn't seem to have those issues, so I don't normally print rafts with PLA. With ABS, I always print those just to make sure I get a successful print. We already talked about the diameter, 1.75. Make sure you change that. If not, you're definitely going to be running not enough plastic through the machine, so that we definitely need to have that changed on over. So that's the difference between Expert and Quick Print. Is it gives you a little more flexibility to change some of these infills, speeds and retractions, but to print these off, because these are really basic parts, we're going to just do it with the normal, and we're going to have these ready to rock and roll. For this video, I'm just going to go ahead and actually delete this. I'm going to click it and hit delete, remove it from that, just for speed purposes here. So that is Cura. You can see how easy it is. It's drag and drop. We just downloaded this file off of Thingiverse, slammed it in Cura. We're able to create our G code, saved it to our SD card. With just a couple clicks of, once you have the machine profile set up, you can just pick the quality, the type of material, save it to SD card, and go. This process, once you're set up and you understand it, shouldn't take you more than maybe 2 minutes to boot it up. Bring your file over, throw your SD card in there, slice it, save it to the SD card, and you're done, and you're out of the program itself. So it's a very fast, easy program to use. We recommend it. There's some other ones to check out if you want to get more advanced, but you're going to have very successful prints, usable parts, usable artwork with this particular program. So download it, check it out. Hold on guys, wait, don't click off this video just yet. This is a quick update. We're going to put it just right to the back end of this video. And that is that we found a bug in the latest version of Cura, version 15.00, whatever, moving forward. And that bug is a problem with 3mm filaments and 1.75mm filaments. It seems that it's always generating G code for 3mm filaments, where most of the printers on the market, other than the Ultimaker, is running 1.75. And it seems to be having some issues there where it's not extruding enough printing filament. No problem with this, because Cura is actually available, and you can get the older version, version 14. And to be honest with you, I like version 14 better than the later release, which is 15, where they actually remove some of the options from that, gearing it more towards consumers with the Ultimaker on that one particular printer. So this is the quick update. It's just one change to the GUI that I want to point out, and more notably, just make sure that you download the latest version of version 14.12 was the last release on version 14. Absolutely works flawlessly. You don't need anything more than that. And I'm just going to pull it up right here on my screen. So if you jump over to internet, what's nice, if you jump on to software.ultimaker.com, you can actually see all the versions of Cura. You can download the latest, which is 15.02.1. Don't do it. It has a bug in it. But if you slide right down to the bottom, it says click here for older versions. And it allows you to slide down, and you can grab any of the other ones. Grab Cura 14.12. This was the last release that supported the quick prints with 1.75 millimeters filament, and it's a rock solid. As far as the slicing engine, it's the same with the newer ones. They just kind of changed some of the GUI features. So as far as print quality and everything, it's going to be identical there. Let me show you the difference in the GUI. we just had that really nice, everything we just talked about is completely still relevant, other than it adds back this really nice feature. So here is your normal screen, and I remember I showed you over here, we had the expert. If we switch the expert settings, we had all those settings that we rolled through. But if we switch back to our quick print, you're going to notice right here on our screen, it now has a filament diameter. We now add that back into it with this version. So you can type in 1.75 instead of your 3mm filaments, which are actually 2.8 to 3.1. So just measure your filament, type it right into that screen, and then just generate your G-code, just like we talked about in the other one. So that's really the only change, is it adds back the support and proper processing for 1.75. So don't use version 15, use version 14 until they get that worked out. Other than that, guys, have fun printing. It's absolutely epic. Watch our next episode where we actually take the SD file that we generated with Cura, we move it over to the printer, and we go ahead and show you how to use the printer operation. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you guys next time.